from Peru, Latin America, and from any country where it is currently my time. And selamat pagi or good morning to participants from Indonesia. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to WISE for organizing this dialogue together with SPAK Indonesia. Also, thank you for the speakers who have spared their time to share knowledge with us. This dialogue will serve as a forum for learning and discussing on corruption issues that are the root of various crimes against women. Through this dialogue, I hope we can learn from the experiences of participants from different parts of the world and ultimately that each of us, regardless of our country, can help promote policies that prevent corruption from becoming a gateway to crimes against women in order to better protect women. Colleagues from Indonesia will share data and evidence from research findings and field experience on how corruption has made women victims of various crimes that have not yet received sufficient attention from policymakers, including crimes in the digital sphere. At the same time, however, women actually have the power to play a leading role in preventing corruption. So we will also share stories about the importance of strengthening women's capacity to be the leader of change that SPAK has already been doing for 12 years. Oh, by the way, we celebrate our anniversary on the 22nd April last week. Congratulations to SPAK's agents from all over Indonesia. What will be presented by our colleague Paulina from GRACE, an initiative of UNODC, will certainly be very interesting as it is highly relevant to our dialogue today and it is expected to inspire women to take action based on research findings and drive change. Now, let us make the most of this dialogue to gain new knowledge and use it as a foundation for our efforts to protect women from corrupt practices and to advance gender equity. I hope this will not be the last dialogue inviting participants from different countries. On the contrary, this will spark ideas and initiatives for further global action. Everyone, enjoy the dialogue. Get back to Grace, yeah?
Thank you so much for your opening remarks. So we begin with Paulina León Avalos, a criminologist and consultant with the UNODC Grace Initiative. Paulina holds an MPhil from Cambridge and specializes in organized crime. Paulina, the floor is yours for women's role in anti-corruption research.
Thank you very much. Let me just share my screen, which I'm having problems for some reason. Can you see my screen now?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yes.
Perfect. Oh, well, something is wrong. Here it is. Okay, thank you very much, Gracia, for that introduction. Thank you very much, Maria, as well. And thank you, WISE and SPAK, for inviting me here today. Good morning, good night for wherever you're based right now. I'm based in Mexico, and right now is the night. So good night for everyone. So as Gracia mentioned, I'm a consultant for the UNODC Grace Initiative, and here I particularly work on research. So I coordinate all of the research on anti-corruption that we're developing or collaborating in with. So today I will discuss particularly women in anti-corruption research. And I believe this is a really important topic right now because it's currently there's limited research that focuses on women, but also it's really important in order to shape responses and identify the risks or the experiences that women particularly they experience. So without further ado, I will move on to the challenges and the opportunities for women who specialize on anti-corruption research. So of course, women face barriers in leadership. This includes the exclusion in male-dominant networks, gender bias, and limited access to data funding and decision making in regards to research. But also there's this credibility and risk of harassment, scrutiny, and backlash that women face in regards when they conduct research in this area, particularly in issues of corruption, because it's a really sensitive issue. And as a result, women here remain underrepresented in senior roles or across all anti-corruption institutions and research fields. But without this, I know this is all negative, but there's lots of opportunities right now at the same time. So it's important that we focus on women and bring diverse perspective, that this will help us kind of uncover gender forms of corruption that are often overlooked. For instance, sexual corruption. But then there's this increased focus on gender diversity, help reshape anti-corruption research, and they help amplify women's voices and create and also to not only amplify their voices but generate priorities and focus on what's important for women. And this creates a more inclusive and transparent and accountable governance solutions in the end. So this is the goal that we want. But why is it important to focus on disaggregated data, or data that is focused mainly on sex and gender, or age, that we focus mainly on the GRACE initiative? But it's really important because it remains limited and stronger efforts are needed, because if we have this data and we have more information of the experiences of women and how it impacts women or non-binary people, then we're able to tailor these anti-corruption strategies to specific needs. So I just want to share with you that we recently conducted a survey of state parties, and we realized that only 12 of 44 state parties reported collecting corruption disaggregated data by age and gender. So just so you have this perspective of how global this gap is and how important it is for us to focus more on women and gender and diverse groups as well. So the COSP resolution 1010 actually promotes this and encourages state parties to collect more and share data on disaggregated data on corruption experiences. Now I will focus first a little bit on the dimensions of corruption. So corruption is not only a matter of institutions and rules, it's also shaped by social norms and stereotypes, and that's why we need to look at this like gender assumptions. And looking at corruption through a gender lens help us more to understand how like stereotypes or social norms or power relationships also influence these perceptions. So social norms and stereotypes, I'm gonna dive a little bit here, but women are often seen kind of as caregivers or passive and trustworthy and also like honest. So people perceive women as less corrupt or corruptible than men. For instance, there was a survey in Brazil that actually said that respondents were asked whether men or women make more corrupt politicians, and 40%, above 40% of the answers were men, while only like 4.3% or something like that said that women. So this is like a really interesting finding. But of course, social norms and stereotypes also influence how we or people perceive bad women. I will say, like women who do engage in corruption. So often these women are perceived or judged more harshly than men. Something for you to consider and think about. But there's also like research that suggests that women in power are often less corrupt. And expanding a little bit more, there's research that suggests that women in power focus on actually working on challenging corruption, particularly in sectors that directly affect them, such as health or other issues, which I will not get into them right now. And then there's these power dynamics and exclusion from networks. So often it's believed that male-dominated networks limit the access to opportunities for women, and these opportunities to also influence, but also participate in corruption. So now I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we do for the GRACE initiative in order to tell you more about the impacts of corruption on women. But the GRACE initiative, it's an initiative that we work on educating on anti-corruption and also empowering young people. So our three pillars are educate, empower, and connect. And through our empower pillar, we also work with young people to strengthen anti-corruption research. And we actually conducted two different research last year and this year, and we actually published recently the findings of the Youth-led Integrity Advisory Board regional consultations. But here, the Youth-led Integrity Advisory Board, which Grecia is part of, conducted 5 regional consultations across Africa, the Americas, Asia, Europe, and the Caribbean. And this survey kind of focused on discussing more about the impacts of corruption in young people. And here we found also findings on young women and the impact of corruption on young women. And similarly, we had an international essay writing competition, and the Regional Academy on the United Nations helped us to analyze those essays that were submitted from all around the world. And we also found some interesting findings in regards to women and corruption. So before we move on to the impact of corruption in women, I want to go first to a Mentimeter, so I'll stop sharing, but I want to ask you a question. Let me share the Mentimeter. For those who don't know what a Mentimeter is, if you go to the page www.menti.com, or you can scan the QR code. Can you see my screen with the Mentimeter? Yes, with the words? Okay.
With the QR.
Oh, you can only see the QR code? Let me stop sharing again. Why is this? Okay, good. So now I'm asking you, in your opinion, in which sector are women most vulnerable to corruption? There's no wrong answers. So okay, I see 9 people are in the QR code. So I'll be waiting for your responses. Okay, most people say public services. Can you specify which services? Okay, we have one with health, public services, all of you. In politics, education as well. Good. I'll give you 30 more seconds to respond, because I see we have 7 of 12 responded. Okay, natural disaster. That's really good. Administratives. Good. Okay, so I think I will move on, but you have like a really good idea. And now I'm gonna stop sharing and go back to my presentation. Oh, what happened? Okay. 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 So now moving on to the actual impacts that we found. So this first I want to start saying some of our come from the Raun research and the International Essay Writing Competition, also from the Solin Futures and the findings from the regional consultations from the Youth-led board, and also from the Time is Now Addressing its Gender Dimensions of Corruption. This is a publication from the United Nations as well. So here, most of the how we see corruption affects men and women is differently. And it's important to understand in which ways, as I mentioned, in order to create policies as well. So first, in health, women tend to interact or engage more frequently with health systems, and especially in maternal or reproductive services, which here increases more the exposure of bribery or informal payments and corruption in the health sector in women. In regards to education, here mothers also often face bribery in order to enroll children, as they are often more involved in this enrollment process. But as well, gender hierarchies leave women teachers more vulnerable to corruption in hiring roles, and as well as promotions and job security here as well. Because, for instance, in Europe, there's a study that most women have to pay a bribery in order to secure education here because of the male dominant networks in these regards. So, for instance, in Europe, most male predominant universities or schools, women here face more vulnerable to corruption or bribery in this case. Then in regards to private sector, corruption often limits women's economic opportunities, and especially in the informal sector, where they may lack more protections and face frequent bribery. So just to give you an idea, often in low socioeconomic or countries, low income countries, up to like 92% of employed women are employed through the informal sector. So they lack they lack the protections, and therefore they face more bribery or corruption here as well. And something also really interesting that was found as well in the regional consultations is that sexual corruption disproportionately affects women and young women, and this was particularly in education. Now, here I have 3 examples of gender-related analyses conducted on corruption. And one is from Afghanistan, the other one from Nigeria, and the other one from the Western Balkans. As you can see here, and for example, men often pay more bribes or significantly more often than women when in contact with the police. Here is in regards in Nigeria and in the Western Balkans, but not in Afghanistan. But on the other hand, women, as you can see, face higher risk of paying bribes to nurses and doctors in Afghanistan and the Western Balkans. So here is kind of like the differences between men and women in corruption, and that's why it's important to analyze it. And before I finish, I want to end with some recommendations for you to better understand and address the gender dimensions of corruption. So first, when we design when we design a research, we want to use inclusive tools and integrate gender's perspectives into surveys using sex and disaggregated data, but also gender sensitive questions. And here we can pop up questions of sexual corruption or other types of corruption in regards to gender. Then secondly, we also want to have a representative sample, so ensuring that we allow this meaningful comparison between men, women, and non-binary people as well. And we want to train researchers. So we want to address these gender bias, these stereotypes, and especially when handling sensitive issues. As we mentioned, corruption is a sensitive issue, and as well as if we're handling topics such as sexual corruption, we want to address this bias before going into research, and also promote these gender diverse research teams as well. And very important and equally important recommendation is that we want to always ensure safe when collecting data. So ensure the confidentiality and the privacy and the secure of environments during interviews. And this goes both ways for the participants, but also for the researcher safety. And I do want to mention this, and I hope you take this on, but as I keep mentioning, corruption is a really sensitive issue. So we have to protect also as researchers, we have to protect ourselves, protect physically, digitally, and emotional well-being, and recognize that we have these added risks as women and non-binary researchers. So always be aware of that. And we of course want this goal of examining the differences in exposure, the experiences in reporting corruption across all genders, and use these as a goal to use your findings to design targeted and gender responsive anti-corruption solutions or interventions. So I hope you get a little bit of this. I didn't have that much time, but if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me, and thank you very much. I don't know if we're gonna do the questions right now or we're gonna move on and do them later. Grecia? Well, if you have any questions, please unmute yourselves or pop them in the chat.
Teman-teman, Paulina, sorry, I explained in a little bit in Indonesia. For maybe there are participants who wants to ask questions in Indonesia, so in Indonesian. So I just let them to ask it in Indonesian. Teman-teman, kalau ada yang mau tanya dalam bahasa Indonesia, silakan ya. Nanti kami coba menjelaskan poinnya pada Paulina. Silakan raise hand teman-teman, atau mau di chat box juga bisa.
Well, I'm glad you don't have that many questions. That means I did a great job. But if not, you feel free to move on. And if someone has any other questions, I'll be here so I can reply in the chat or later on as well.
Gracia?
Yes, thank you so much, Paulina. So next is Ira Hussain. Ira has over 20 years of experience in gender equality and is a leading expert in gender responsive budgeting in South Sulawesi. As a researcher and activist, she has worked extensively on how corruption fuels child marriage and trafficking. Ira, please proceed.
Okay, thank you very much, Gracia, Paulina, Miss Maria, and all participants. Good morning for Indonesian time, and also good evening in maybe Peru or Mexico time. Thank you very much for the time. It's a really honor for me to attend such a great forum, and more importantly, to have the opportunity to share with you all. Well, let me share my presentation. Okay. Can you see?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, right. Okay. Well, on this occasion, I would like to share the topic about uncovering the human trafficking and child marriage ecosystem based on our research conducted by SPAK Indonesia in South Sulawesi. For the first slide, I would like to highlight the data, how the growing social emergency in South Sulawesi center on two deeply interconnected issues between human trafficking and also child marriage. On the left side, the data points to a crisis in human trafficking nationally. There has been a reported increase of 154 cases. This is based on data from IOM in 2020. However, what this report likely represent only a fraction of the true scale, the iceberg phenomenon, like suggests that beneath the surface, maybe there is 100 or more, maybe even 1,000 of unreported cases, particularly in South Sulawesi. This indicates system gaps in detection, reporting, and also protection. Current responses remain far from optimal. Intervention are often reactive, taking place only after harm has occurred, and also the legal process tends to be long and also complex, which can discourage victims from seeking justice. And on the right side, the slide shown a parallel emergency also, the sharp rise in child marriage. The application in marriage dispensation increased dramatically from 3,033 cases in 2015 to 722 in 2080, before slightly declining about 1,633 cases by November. This reflection a troubling normalization of early marriage, often linked also to social pressure, economic hardship, and also attempts to conceal exploitation. Child marriage, it's not just a cultural issue. It is a serious threat to the children's rights, education, health, and also long-term well-being. Together, there is threat points of deeper structural problems, both trafficking and also child marriage, thrive in environment where prevention systems are so weak and response are delayed. This slide also ultimately calls for urgent preventive actions, protecting children's future requires shifting from reactive measures to proactive strategies. Also strengthening oversight, improving reporting mechanism, and also addressing the root causes that make children vulnerable in the first place. Okay. On the third slide, there are currently two big issues in South Sulawesi and also commonly in Indonesia regarding human trafficking and also child marriage. They are, first, the ongoing rise in human trafficking syndicates. Nationally, the number of cases had reached significant level, and South Sulawesi has become a key hub as a both source region and a transit route from trafficking, both domestically and also internationally. The second is a surge in child marriage exemption. The data shows a sharp increasing. In effect, in just the first quarterly of the year, the number of application has already nearly matched the total from the previous year. I'm bringing this up because warrant attention. This is most likely an iceberg phenomenon I described before. Many cases go unreported, and also current response tend to be reactive, taking an action only after a case occurred, without addressing the root of the problems. Okay, based on our research, behind the complex crimes such as human trafficking, a question often arises that weighs heavily on the conscience. Why can such a cruel practice occur so easily at the local level? For example, in South Sulawesi, how is possible that the exploitation of the children, even by done those closest to them, for example, like parents, family, and also a cousin, and maybe the neighbor, it can proceed simply unhindered. So it's really close to the victims. This phenomenon doesn't stand alone, actually. It's the result of series at the interconnected factors, like forming a neat and systematic supply chains of the crime. On one hand, there is a social economic vulnerability, poverty, lack of education, and minimal social protection from the families to the disparate position. And under these conditions, just like false, like promises or certain pressures can drive the tragic decision for the people or for the victims. However, there is another factor that is far more decisive and often hidden: the practice of corruption. Corruption is not just an administrative violation. It serves as the primary catalyst enabling the crime to persist. When officially, like a policemen, and others who are supposed to enforce the law are negligent or even complicity, the protection system collapse. Legal process can be manipulated, documents can be forged, or perpetrators gain protection that shield them from the reach of the law. In the context of child marriage exemption, for example, legal intended as exception can be abused. With the support of corruption parties, regulation become tools of legitimation for practice that are actually harmful and dangerous to children. Based on SPAK research, we can see that there is a change in human trafficking methods from traditional to modern approach. In the past, traffickers use a hidden way, high risk, illegal routes, running the risks of the being caught from official, for example. But now, SPAK Indonesia found that they exploit official channel now, but through manipulation and abuse the authority, making their activities appear legal. So this means that illegal practice are no longer always hidden. Instead, that they can occur openly by exploiting law in the system. Next, when we talk about child marriage, that the clash between the domestic and also public spheres regarding the issues of child marriage, we call the paradox of child marriage. In the domestic spheres, decisions are often influenced by the economics or cultural pressures, making them to be irrational. In the meanwhile, in the public sphere, there are law exists to protect children through minimum marriage requirement. However, the whole such a document manipulation due to corruption practice allow these rules to be circumvent, meaning it means that child protection remains suboptimal. Child marriage can be happen anytime with any ways like that. Now, due to the all condition before, there are three key findings that can also serve as intervention strategies for the future. This is also as a result from SPAK Indonesia and also all of the stakeholders in South Sulawesi and Indonesia commonly, that in contextually, South Sulawesi is facing a dual crisis, like before I explained. That's a rise in human trafficking case due to its role a transit region, and also an alarming number of requests for exemption from the child marriage laws. And there is a key findings that these two issues are not only influenced by cultural or economic factors, but also driven by administration corruption, such as identity fraud, documents manipulation, and also bribery. So what about the intervention focus? SPAK Indonesia and also all of the stakeholders see that a case-by-case approach is no longer sufficient to handle this condition. Intervention must focus on the strengthening system and also governments through cross-sectoral collaboration, starting from the village to the next level or till the provincial level. And the last one is SPAK Indonesia also give the output of intervention as based on the findings of the SPAK Indonesia study conducted collaboration with stakeholders before. Several policies were ultimate issues now as follow-up measures and efforts by the provincial and also district government in South Sulawesi. This include like drafting of provincial legal regional regulation on the prevention of human trafficking, for example, and also which takes into account the corruption practice occurring within the sectors, because we found so many corruptions happen in human trafficking. Furthermore, also before, there are so many, for example, there is a village regulations on the prevention of child marriage has been drafted in Bone Regency, one of Regency in South Sulawesi, as one of the intervention places of the SPAK Indonesia, which initiated by a village head who serve as an anti-corruption prevention agent also, who are trained by SPAK Indonesia. So that's all the describing of how the human trafficking and also child marriage in South Sulawesi especially, and I think in Indonesia commonly happen with corruption practice happen inside. I think that's all. If there is maybe friends or participant have any question or maybe want to discuss, it's really I openly to stay with. Thank you. Grace, thank you. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Ira. We are moving on to our next segment. I welcome Dewi Rana Amir. Dewi is the director of Libu Perempuan and a 2000 UNDP and Peace Award winner, a trained SPAC agent since 2015. She has a master's in gender studies and has led UNDP access to justice programs. She will present on sextortion in disaster context. The floor is yours, Dewi.
Yeah, thank you, Gracia. Good morning, everyone from Indonesia. Maybe Mbak Maria can help to, yeah, the slide. Yeah. First of all, I would like to apologize with my limited English friend. If there is any question, please ask in the comment. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, the title is Sextortion in Disaster Context, Central Sulawesi Experience from Indonesia. Yeah, I'm Dewi from SPAK Indonesia. Maybe next, Mbak. Yeah. To see where is the Central Sulawesi province is located, I started with a map of Indonesia on the left and a map of Central Sulawesi on the right. So you can see where's my location in your map. Yeah, yeah. This is apa? Maybe next slide, Mbak Maria. Yeah, so yeah, this is an aerial map of the disaster impact, along with image of the aftermath. The bottom left, so the impact of the tsunami. The disaster maybe 7.4 Scala Richter, so big, yeah. And then so many damage from our province. Next, Mbak. Yeah, this is a quick count from the disaster tsunami. Maybe approximately 18 trillion rupiah apa namanya impact from the disaster in our city, ya. City Sigi district, Parigi district, and then Donggala district. Okay, next. Yeah, this is a women-friendly space. We open to respond the disaster at the time. It was located in 12 locations and spread across the large evacuation center at the time. This illustrated that reporting access was open, making it easier to survivor to report their problems. Yeah, open access to report their problem. Next slide, Mbak. Yeah. Regarding corruption during disaster, media coverage such as Kompas reported on large-scale corruption by contractor. Here we see Kompas report on corruption in the construction of drinking water facility or clean water facility, which involve quite significant figures. This also new that we can see in the media regarding corruption that occur and involve certain officially related to disaster relief. This related to corruption in disaster relief, which has been highlighted by many party. Next, Mbak. Yeah. Yeah, next saja, Mbak. Okay. Yeah, regarding disaster, of course, when disaster occur, corruption exacerbated women situation and vulnerabilities. The Ministry of Women Empowerment and Child Protection notes that during disaster, women vulnerability 14 times higher than in normal situation, and corruption further exacerbate the situation. In Kompas, on November 7, 2019, it was reported that approximately 250 cases of gender-based violence occurred in the Central Sulawesi disaster. Yeah, next slide. Yeah. This is a testimony from our friend survivor from shelter. They said during the last disaster, aid distribution was largely directed to close associates, such as those distribution aid, such as refugee coordinator. This also trigger violence against women. The data seems to be mistargeted. I feel that data collection didn't take into account women, the elderly, and those with disability. Survivor who living outside the refugee camp tent or tenda sementara, we call like that, were often overlooked during aid distribution because they were told they had run out. The rupiah value of aid does not match the budget provided and received by refugee or survivor. And then last LT, this is liquefaction and tsunami victim. She say, I believe that the aid from the government and the international donors is substantial, but the unusual problem included fund not reaching the victim in full. Aid cut by individual and misuse of fund. Okay, next slide, Mbak. Yeah, this is a number of cases reported to us. Sextortion, 5 cases. And then we receive rape, attempt rape in temporary housing, human trafficking, sexual harassment on women and girls, child marriage, violence in dating, forced pregnancy, sexual exploitation, women reproductive health disorder due to the limited clean water resources, and domestic violence, including physical, psychological, sexual, economy, and child abuse. Yeah. This is the data displayed on diagram. Maybe next slide, Mbak. Yeah. Yeah. Cases of sextortion indication reported after the disaster of September 28, 2018. 8 provider commit sexual harassment, violence against aid recipient, started with invitation to swim, walking with them, and then sexual harassment. Then there were reports of sexual transaction between the provider and recipient, disaster survivor, even leading to pregnancy. When we try to advocate and investigate this report, we was indeed pregnant, not only one, but more than one. Yeah. And then we also received a report of sexual transaction involved vulnerable women who living in temporary shelter. This report come into through the women-friendly space I mentioned earlier. The women in the temporary shelter lost their home, their family were gone, and the aid situation was inadequate and unsuitable for their need. Many women in the refugee camp had no other choice. Then the aid provider come in charge for sexual transaction, and then the aid was given. So in this context, is truly concerning. Yeah. Another report concern how tsunami victim sought relocation, but received sexual favor. There also personal regarding of the victim being treated with the distribution. Another report, in my opinion, is particularly concerning. Their villages were affected by liquefaction, so that they occupy their land provided. In the context of this extortion, was also find people in the position authority in the village, telling them, if you stay here, there is a reward. I believe this is because the Central Sulawesi disaster involved liquefaction, and they had no choice but to return their village. Regarding extortion, perhaps if we look it definition and elements, someone with authority, any person from the aid providers to the new village official, the person who arrived or of the official handling the relocation. If someone with authority and power, they take personal advantage of women who are already very vulnerable, women who no longer have other option. This transaction, it was we call sextortion, which is another term of corruption. The gain is sexual, and the person isn't physically forced to do it, but rather exert power due to his authority. While the woman has no other choice, this is his opinion in a part of sextortion. Next slide. Yeah. If you see the definition of the sextortion is a form of a corruption where the sex in the currency. This is a practice involve the abuse of power to obtain sexual favor by someone in the position of power or authority, targeting someone in less power position. And I think report and report before it is fulfill sextortion definition. Okay, next slide, Mbak. Now, in regulation, I think many article, yeah, in our country regulation, but take about sextortion, I think we can find in Article 12 about sexual slavery. Imply in the context of sexual coercion carried out by a part in power, often associated with sexual slavery. We have undang-undang or regulation 12 2002 about concerning criminal act of sexual violence. Oke, next Mbak.
Dewi, Kak Dewi,
Waktu.
waktunya udah
Oke,
habis.
oke. Yang terakhir, the last. This is our challenge about handling sextortion. I think evidence, and then sextortion is not well organized in our society. And then in disaster situation, referral mechanism for handling case are paralyzed. And I think this is my presentation. Our friend, I apologize if there's anything that my unpleasant. Good afternoon, everyone.
Thank you so much. So now we are moving to discuss leadership. I invite my mentor, Judy. Judy is a co-founder of SPAK, a board member of Transparency International Indonesia, and a core reform expert. She will speak on women leadership in the anti-corruption movement. Judy, please.
Hello, Gracia. Thank you. Good evening, Gracia and Paulina. I'm very happy to see your research result, Paulina. I think there are some similarity between what the result of yours and maybe some of our research as well that already shared by Kak Ira and Kak Dewi, ya. So selamat pagi for my colleague in Indonesia and friends here. Actually, I just want to share with you. This is something actually the core of our approach, the SPAK approach, which we put Indonesia women as the leaders in corruption preventing effort. So if thank you again, Paulina, also that you share about the time is now because SPAC is already there as well, yeah. So okay, we believe that corruption is not just at the top, yeah, but what people think corruption is equal or meaning big money doing by government officials and also major scandals. Yeah. But what data say here in Indonesia, based on the Women's Corruption Perception Index in Indonesia, published in Sage Open 2024, data said that 46% of women, Indonesia women, of course, say corruption is part of daily life. And 31% says it is already cultural, so part of culture. Yeah, and women in Indonesia has an awareness of the corruption is 76, but the behavior in not doing corrupt behavior is 60. So there is a gap, 16, that we can understand as this is people know, but still tolerate, yeah, with the corrupt behavior. What really happens? The corruption lives in everyday interaction. So I think we all here agree that in everyday interaction, there is a corrupt behavior in schools, in healthcare, in public services. So it is like maybe just small act, yeah, paid the traffic officer in the street, something like that, but it is repeated daily, so people like normalize. So there is the reason why 30% says it is already being part of the culture. So why women are most impacted? Because the first one is closer to daily system. Yeah, we as a women, part of the family, also public services, also part of the community. And then we expose more frequently, and the petty corruption or the practices of corrupt behavior is less structural control. So, as I mentioned before, corruption is not only a top level issue. In Indonesia, and I believe in other area as well, globally, corruption is not a distant issue. It directly impacts everyday life, especially in Indonesia. What I experience, I and others colleague here experience in Indonesia. It is a daily life issue, and it starts small. It affects the quality of education and may limit access to get a proper healthcare, and also weakens the fairness of public services. Ultimately, it eroding trust in society. And women, as the most impacted of the corrupt behavior, especially because they are closest to this daily system, managing family needs, interacting with services, so they experience it more directly. Yeah, but on the other hand, women also has a very strategic opportunities through their roles at home, in the workplace, and also in the community. Women, we do believe here, SPAK, have the power to stop it from the very beginning, start from our house. So SPAK believe that corruption is the evolution of the corruptive behavior. Corruptive behavior, as mentioned before as well with from Kaira, corruptive behavior is a violation of anti-corruption values. So this is why start small acts, but repeatedly, and it normalized. So if behavior is the root of the problem, then educating the right values early can be a solution. So what SPAK do here in Indonesia is, I think Paulina mentioned as well, to make the corruption prevention is the inclusive approach for all, so we can like gather broad-based participation, because I think it is important to ask people to involve in the movement to prevent the corruption. By making corruption prevention more inclusively, so the benefit can be achieved. Yeah. Engaging the citizen, including women, minorities, people with disabilities, and other marginalized communities, to ensure that their voices are heard in anti-corruption measures and policy, and also the regulation. They can provide unique insight into how corruption affect them specifically. So it also need transparency and accountability, because inclusive practices promote transparency by creating mechanisms that allow people from diverse background to report corruption without fear of retaliation. These mechanisms are designed to be accessible and safe for everyone. And then I think the most important thing also how we empower women through education, raising awareness and educating all communities about corruption and its impact can empower them to resist corrupt practices and demand accountability from leaders and institutions. It is also important that we have a tailored approach because we are in Indonesia so diverse. Yeah. Different community may experience corruption in different ways. By involving a broad spectrum of society, anti-corruption efforts can be more effectively tailored to address the specific challenges faced by various groups. And the last one is the strengthened institution, like Kak Ira again mentioned. We doing some studies and then adopted by the House of Legislative. That's how we work here to strengthen the institution. And we believe that inclusivity helps build stronger institutions that are representative of the whole population. It fosters trust in governance and creates a sense of ownership among citizens in the fight against corruption. By involving all stakeholders, inclusivity in corruption prevention ensures that anti-corruption efforts are more comprehensive, equitable, and also effective. So this is our tools, education tools. That's why we said that this is part of how we tailor approach. So everybody happy to learn about I think the most abstract terms, what is corruption, and this is what we do. This Cortipo, if you see, this is the game for us to fight the corruption in human trafficking. Yeah. And this one, Sidaka, is how we educate peoples in all over Indonesia to fight about corruption in child marriage. Yeah. So we have like maybe now is 8, Mbak Maria, education tool, 9 education tools. So this is how we also ask the SPAK agent, disabled SPAK agent to also involve in our movement. So we translate our games, our educational tools into Braille and then also into comics. Yeah, so they can use as much as we do. This is like just like apa namanya some activities of SPAK women. We have like women police and then women judges and then we also have biarawati apa nuns and also many others. Yeah, so we can do at home. Yeah, we can do, this is a disaster areas for healing for the children there. Yeah, this is at the airport and many places as well. And this is how also we do the campaign because here in Indonesia, women is like the population of women is maybe 51%. So women is more many rather compared to women. So this is important for us to fight against money politics with the campaign Precious Female Voice is valuable. Yeah, so this is always the campaign is always like we do every regional pilkada regional election and also national election. Yeah. So by putting the our photo in the Canva template. So this is like what we claim as an achievement. Yeah. So this is some result among others. Our SPAK agent in Malari village, like uh, uh, like announce the regulates that fines for those who allow child marriage to occur in their regulation. And I think the most recent is our SPAK agent from police women is got Hugeng Awards to as an appreciation for her integrity. Yeah. So there are many results and impact of what actually how SPAK agent as a women uh, practicing the anti-corruption effort. Yeah. So what is actually women's leadership uh, in the SPAK point of view is we we uh, we see the leadership is not only elite leadership, but we works a lot with grassroots leadership. Yeah. And then our why we grassroots leadership, because we see the leadership is always based on leading by example, consistency in behavior, and informal social influence, not always about positions, but about impact. There, our point of view of women leadership. So every single SPAK agent is the leadership itself. So as the closing, I want to say that anti-corruption is not only built in boardroom, but also in the living room, where women lead the change. Yeah. Change doesn't always begin with power. We believe that sometimes it begins with the courage of a woman. We do believe this statement actually based on our result and its impact. To say, sometimes it begins with the courage of a woman to say no to what is considered normal. So, everyone, thank you. And I think we can enrich the session with the question and answer. Thank you. Back to you, Gracia.
Thank you so much, Julie. Finally, joining us between sessions of her Australian award course, we have Dr. Theodora Yunisha Putri. Theo is a criminal law lecturer at the University of Indonesia and Access to Justice Manager at AAPG3 with a PhD from ANU. She focuses on justice for women and children. Please and guide us through digital harms and women's rights. The floor is yours.
Okay, hello. Hi everyone, and thank you for the introduction. Good morning for those who are in Jakarta, and also good evening for Gracia and other who are in Peru. Thank you for the opportunity to share about the digital harms and women's rights. Well, I understand the time is tight, so I'll try to be short and sharp because talking about digital harms and women's rights is actually a quite broad, but very interesting issues that currently we face like almost every day, because there's no way that there's no way that we don't open our social media or our login or we log into the platform or anything these days is always related to the digital world and the internet and everything. So now I move to my second slide. Have you ever imagined that someone maybe takes your photos and edit it and make it appear as if you are in a pornographic video, or maybe threatens to share your intimate image without your consent, or someone posting real world information to perpetuate violence? In this digital world, it's called doxing. Or maybe it's not happened to you, but you are worried that it will be happen to your child, because boys and girls now is, as we heard, there's so many cases that they were groomed into sending sexual explicit image of themselves by someone that they met. Mostly is in Roblox, that I think almost every kid, the majority of children these days are playing Roblox, and that is one of the source that the children met with the sort of like the predator, or who's going to groom them and then starting the sort of like sexual relations between the predator and the kids. So I think all of these examples that I just said, it is not hypothetical, but is a common form of online gender-based violence that we face every day. And for Indonesia itself, I think it's since early 2000 and then start on the 2015 and 2017, the online-based violence, or we call it kekerasan berdasarkan gender online atau KBGO. This online gender-based violence is start to become the discussion, and then for the women activists, they start to understand what is the harm and how the state it should protect the citizens. Most likely is women who like we know mostly is talking about sexual violence. It's not limited only to women to become victims, but the data said is 70% of the sexual violence victims is women and girls, and it's also the same when it happens through the digital world. So based on the discussions between the activists, the academicians, and then in Indonesia, we have what we call it Komnas Perempuan, or the National Commission on Women's Rights and Anti-Violence Against Women. They try to make a definition. What is actually the online gender-based, or what is the digital harms can make to focusly to women. So the terminology that you seen in my slides is from this is the Komnas Perempuan. This Komnas Perempuan definition about the online gender-based violation. And I think if we look at other gender-based violence definitions around the world, the elements is almost the same, because what Indonesia definitions is they took it from the UNFPA concept of UNFPA concept of technology facilitated gender-based violence, or if we try to browse that, it will come up the TFGBV. So in simple terms, it refers to gender-based violence that is carried out or intensified through digital technology. It can be internet, social media, games platforms, and it targets can be and it targets individuals based on gender and cause physical, sexual, and psychological harm. This includes threats, coercion, violation of privacy, both in public and private spaces. And the question is sometimes, so is it only impact on women and girls? Actually, it's not. But again, the data set is mostly 85% is women and girls, and the impact is much bigger for women and girls. And how about in Indonesia? How widespread is it in Indonesia? The internet and digital technology, as we know, it's present a double-edged sword for us women. Like on the one hand, they provide important spaces for expression and opportunity and make our life so much easier, but also in the other hand, they are increasingly used by perpetrators to target women. And then it comes, new forms of violence are emerging alongside the growing use of digital communication. Globally, this is I cite from the Amnesty International, 85% of women around the world have witnessed online violence, and 38% by it have experienced it directly. But in Indonesia itself, the number is like keep increasing in every years. And what the infographic here is only for 2025. It said there's 2,382 cases reported about the gender-based online gender-based violence, and the most of the case is threats to distribute intimate content. And if we see here, there's so many types of gender-based violence, and it's only like a view of it because it can be on many types of the gender-based violence through the online platforms and everything. And also the data said that the younger women are more likely to have personally experienced online violence. So if like from this 2,382 data that I cite from SafeNet report in 2025, it said like only 35% is come from the older generation, from boomers generation, or even Gen X. Yes, X is older than millennials, right? Yeah. But the 75% is younger than start from the millennials, Gen Z, even at Gen Y and everything. And also, what is the most concern is the report is not only in Indonesia, but I think is a widespread, is every year the number is keep increase. And from the report from the Komnas Perempuan and LBH Apik, the trend is also similar. The number is keep increasing, even it's reached up until 40% compared to the 2024. And now the question is, yes, that is a problem for us, for women, for women as a single woman, for women as the mother, and for women as the part of the community. So what actually the legal protection in Indonesia rules about this? For Indonesia itself, it actually has taken steps to address the digital harms through, like we have at least there are 3 laws that can be addressed for the digital harms. The first one is the law on the electronic information and transactions law, and then the second one is law on the sexual violence crimes. And this law is for Indonesia. It's quite what can I say? Sort of like dramatic in the process of the beginning, in the process to make the law itself, because women activists, the academician, and all other party who have interest to protect women. They tried to make to goal this law for more than 10 years, and finally we have that law, law number 12, actually, number 12, 2022, on sexual violence crimes. And one of the types of the sexual violence that define on that law is for the online sexual violence. And last is law on the personal data protection. But again, this law is try to provide a basis for addressing online harassment, threats, and technology-facilitated sexual violence. But the challenge is remain in implementation and access to protection. For example, like from LBH APIK report that although now Indonesia already have the sexual violence crimes law, but most of the report on digital harms or sexual online harassment is prosecuted not using the sexual violence crimes, but only use the electronic information and transactions law. It make another barrier for victims or for the survivor to get their rights as the victims. And also we have a new personal data protection, but again, in the implementation it's still challenging. So if we talk about the legal protection itself, then it's, yes, we have the law, but the implementation is quite challenging, and we still have many barriers to protect women. And again, if it's back to the data, then most women are turning to informal support system like family and friends rather than go through the law itself. And then this come to my few last slides, so I hope you still bear with me. So actually, what is impact on victims? Online gender-based violence can cause severe psychological harm, including anxiety, depression, and trauma. And it also pushes like many victims to withdraw from the online spaces, limiting their freedom of expression and participation. And in some cases, it's not only in the digital world, but actually in their everyday life. And it can lead to the economic harm, to the isolation and silencing. So the impact is not only in the cyber and digital world, but it's also feels like in the real world for them. And so what can we do as a woman in here? So probably we can start with our own circle, like put the safeguarding for individuals as the priority, and then put the safeguarding in the community, and if we have a chance and access to democracy, then we can try to put how to protect women's rights online. And then because the digital space must be safe for full and equal participation. And as a woman, we can start with the support system, safe place for them to discuss, to tell the story, not with judging them or do anything that might make them feel like a contributors, because sometimes it happens with the victims when with the victims of sexual violence is sometimes looking at them with judging and say like, oh, because it's like 20%, 30% is your fault, which is not. So safe place and support system is something that really important. And that if we have an access to the policies, if we can have to strengthen the cooperation between governments, technical companies, civil society, or improve the data for better understand and respond to digital violence, empowered women itself, and empowered our kids itself. So I think that is my last slides. Thank you so much for bear with me, for hear my presentations, and I send it back to you, Gracia. Thank you.
Thank you, Al. So now that we are done with all our segments, we will begin with the Q&A. So please raise your hands in case you want to use the microphone or type in the chat. So now I open the floor for all the participants that want to ask any question to our speakers. Okay, so as I don't see that there's no questions.
Gracia,
Judy?
sorry. I just like one question for Theo. Yeah, Theo already mentioned as well about the regulations that try to apa namanya, to overcome the cases of the gender-based violence. I just want to know how actually now the implementation of the regulation now so far, and do you think that these regulations already understood by maybe women in the region, in the grassroots, something like that, because they actually apa namanya, impacted a lot with those kind of violation. Thank you.
Thank you. Should I answer directly or how it is? Okay, I will answer.
Yes, you can answer.
Okay, thank you. I will try to answer Mbak Yudi's question. Yes, like in the term of the law, Indonesia is okay, like not good enough, not protected enough, but we have this these laws. But on the implementation, it's another challenge, especially because most of the law is the new law, even though we cannot say like right now the sexual violence law, it's already 2022 and now it's only 2026. It's been 4 years, but for most our law enforcement, they still see it as a new law. And so like they so much for example, for the online sexual violence, they feel that they much feel comfortable because they know more about the electronic transactional law rather than sexual violence law. So they choose to to use that kind of law. So, but again, probably it's also happened not only in Indonesia but also in other countries when the law enforcement feels like reluctant to use the new law because they're not quite sure about that, or maybe also because they not get enough training about that. So I think that is one of Indonesian challenge to ensure that the laws that we already have, it can be implemented, and all the victims' rights, human rights that we already have beautifully in our law also can be implemented. I hope it's answer your questions.
Yeah, thank you. Gracia, one more question? Can?
Yes, go for it.
Okay. Again to Theo, because like we both actually involved in the studies maybe years ago about the some about the sextortion as well. Theo, we at that time we acknowledge that this regulation is can be used for the sextortion, right? As it is an like an opportunity, yeah, to fight the sextortion using this kind of regulation. So maybe you can like share as well to the participants here how it is how the possibility to use that regulation to fight sextortion. Maybe not, yeah, like you said, that's not like a perfect regulation, but there is the opportunity that we have so far.
Okay, thank you. Thank you again, Mayudi. Well, that's very interesting questions and also hard questions actually, because I need to recall about what about what we wrote. But yes, if if we talk about sextortion in 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 a sense of corruption and sexual and corruption, so we not in Indonesia, we not yet have the specific law that regulate about that kind of specific actions or specific crimes. But because in our sexual violence law that we have like so many articles trying to put in give a broader definitions about the sexual violence and how and it's include on someone who are in a higher position or maybe have the power relation that use their power to have a sexual conduct with the woman that actually below them or have the power relation or what is it or have the interest that for that man to grant it or approve her request or something. So it's not actually talk about sextortions, but yes, in our sexual violence law, we have the articles that can be used to tackle the sextortions. Okay, I hope that's answer Mbak Yudi's question. Although I forgot actually on which articles, but we can check together.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Because I think that study is like we can like see how the the progress so far.
Yeah, agree. And also, I want to add like how we can maximize the laws that we have, not only waiting for the legislative to make a new laws and then make them to conduct the sextortion just free because we don't have any laws to
Yeah,
use it.
agree.
Thank you.
Thank you, Theo. Thank you, Gracia. Mbak Mari.
Gracia, I
also
have one question. If you
you-
allow.
Yes.
Okay, now I want to ask to Paulina and Gracia yourself about related to the digital harm and women's rights, like the content of Theo's presentation. Both of you are heavily working with youth in your organization in your country. I would like to know how you see the digital threats for for youth, and what have you done so far, you and your organization, to to equip or uh, to to equip the youth to face this global threat. I want to hear from both of you.
Okay, Paulina, you can go first.
Well, thank you. Thank you for this question. So particularly the Grace Initiative right now hasn't done much of work on women risks and challenges in anti-corruption or in corruption. However, we are right now working on with young people on AI and enhancing their skills on new technologies and artificial intelligence. So right now we have, well, last year we brought together a group of academics, experts, and young people into this academic symposium where we encourage people to apply and share their research on how to use artificial intelligence to tackle corruption. So we've been doing this also this year, and we've been conducting capacity building workshops where the focus is on emerging technologies and artificial intelligence. And this has also many other focuses, which the young people or the academics or the experts focus on different topics, particularly corruption in politics, corruption, how to tackle corruption from the ground up, or in how to use it in civil society services, but also on different topics. Hopefully, we will get more research done on how we can use these emerging technologies also in regards to gender dimensions as well. But those are some things that we're doing to enhance the skills of young people in regards to new technologies as well. I don't know if Grecia can speak from WISE or the youth-led board members.
Yes, well, I wasn't expecting a question for me, to be honest. But yes, on that side, WISE has been working specifically in what we call fact-checking. So our work is more related to information, the classification of those information specifically for youth. And one of our main objectives is to help youth to know sources that are trustworthy, and also make in a way to democratize knowledge, so every youth from different aspects can access this kind of information. um, we mostly do it by digital tools, so we use social media specifically to try to share more about the knowledge that we aim you to know, specifically about the defense of the rights, and more focused on women's rights, as is one of our main topics that we are aiming to. Also about equity, which is one of our main focus within our organization. So between WISE and the youth that I see that the many ways that we are seeing to involve youth into taking action into these processes and bringing them to participate actively, and also to have you could say more important role within this kind of conversations, because I have seen many changes on how youth has been portrayed inside of this kind of spaces. I see more participation of youth, and I see that youth is not just there representing, but also participating and also using their voice within the spaces to know and let people know of their current challenges and issues. So I have seen mostly on the side of the youth-led and also on the side of whites that there is a growing need and growing you could say active growing of youth that want to be involved in this kind of processes. And I think that that's a really good next steps that I'm seeing, that people and youth are wanting to be involved and they want to be part of these conversations, which I think is kind of growing more consciousness into how not only policy but like the whole international scene can influence into their lives. So I think that they are taking the roles and they are taking the lead on knowing, getting information, classifying those information, and also bringing themselves to the table and setting like their voices. And this is and showing people the challenges that they are facing. And I also see that this doesn't come from a place of them seeing themselves as a victims, but then seen as protagonists of their own lives and their own narratives. So I see that within WISE and within the youth that we are taking, you could say that the steps to try to involve youth into more of these processes and try to be more active within those spaces.
Thank
So
you
I
so
don't know
much.
if anyone has more questions. Yes, thank you,
I
Maria,
really
for
would
asking
like
that.
I really would like to have your research or findings, Paulina, on the AI used for corruption, to tackle the corruption doing by youth. It's really interesting. Maybe next time we can have a sharing session talking especially about youth or how to attract youth to be involved in corruption actions. Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, I
Back to
think
Gracia.
we will. Thank you. So I think we can be moving to wrapping up. So to summarize our journey today, we have traveled from the systemic research of UNODC to the front lines of disaster zones and the digital landscape. We have seen that whether in Jakarta or Lima, corruption uses the same loopholes to exploit gender inequality. However, we also have seen many solutions like the SPAK model of collective integrity and the power of intergenerational leadership. As we wrap up, I want to express my deepest gratitude to my mentors, Maria and Judy. Thank you for opening your doors and sharing your life's work with me. To our brilliant speakers, thank you for your expertise. So this webinar marks the conclusion of my pilot mentorship program, but it is just the beginning of the collaboration between WISE and SPAK Indonesia. The insights shared today will directly inform, hopefully, our upcoming joint research. To the youth leaders here, remember that integrity is a constant action. So let's continue to build this global community. And so good morning to Jakarta and a very good night to my colleagues in Latin America. I believe this session is now closed.
Thank you very much, Gracia. Thank you, everyone.
Oh yes, Gracia, please everyone don't leave the room. First, we want to take pictures of you. Please stay. Okay, I will give the clue, yeah? Hold on. 1, 2, 3. Give your best smile.
If anyone else wants to turn their cameras.
Oh yeah, please open the camera.
Thank you, Paulina.
Okay, one more. Please open your camera. Hello, everyone. Don't you want your face to be in the picture? 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Take
Thank you, everyone.
Bye. Thank you. See you next time.
Take care, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a good rest, Paulina and Gracie.